Welcome to my latest experiment. This is the big one, the one I've been waiting for all my life.
What is it?
Try to imagine all life as you know it stopping instantaneously and every molecule in your body exploding at the speed of light.
Oh my God.
The cream will rise to the top, oh yeah.
And I am the voice of the voiceless.
And there is no one that does it better.
The Guy and Harley podcast, streaming all over your face.
Perhaps that was the most important part.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
Pigville on the internet. You want to shoot this shit? Stuff an Uzi up your ass. We got these fucking schoolies puffing loosies, skipping class. I got these Russian beauties like Nikita Denise taking penis to their teeth while I'm squeezing their cheeks. I'm Harley Neville. Welcome along to the Guy and Harley podcast.
Sounds like a bad blowjob right there.
Well, the teeth thing does sound a little bad.
Needed something to kind of rhyme with the S-nits and everything, but like the penis to the teeth, it's like, so someone's biting on your wang? Three girls are biting on your wang?
I guess he's just saying he's filling their mouths up so much with his penis that there's some teeth involved.
Well, that's still good.
Also, I guess, I take it to mean that his balls are so far, like he's so deep that his balls are on their teeth.
Well, he did say the penis, though.
Yeah, I guess he did say taking penis to the teeth.
Yeah.
That is a giant gorilla dog thing, my new favourite rap posse at the moment. I just discovered them. What makes them cool is they sound real gangster. I thought they were just like, I assumed they were African-American gangsters when I very first heard something from them. And I was like, meh, just more rap, you know. But then I saw them and they are complete, total schlubby dads. Like, they should be called Giant Schlubby Dad Bod Thing. That's what they should be called, because they're about our age, and they're just like bearded, fat, kind of like, you know, Hawaiian shirt wearing, you know, pasty white like dudes, and I found that kind of refreshing. I kind of liked that. And also, I liked that they just didn't really seem to give a shit what they looked like. They were just like, meh, I'm cool with just like looking like a schlubby dad.
Yeah, it's a dangerous slope to go down, that whole I don't care about my appearance anymore thing. It's definitely really going to hinder you in a lot of circles. Yeah. Like, to really hit the sweet spot of like, I don't care what I look like, but girls will still sleep with me. Like, that's such a narrow window.
I reckon that these guys are getting some pretty serious pussy, though.
But there's a thing.
If their lyrics are to be believed.
But I guess that's the thing, that they've got an angle, which is that they're talented hip-hop artists.
Yeah.
But if you just don't, and you're like, I respect these guys, and I'm going to copy them, but you're just a guy. Yeah, you're just, and then you just become a disgusting, fat, ugly guy.
You're just a fat, ugly poet.
Then, I don't think it will have the same results. I also don't think that, like, you know, you go, oh, it's refreshing. But I don't think you'd be dating a girl and she goes, look, I'm stopping working out. I'm just eating crap. I'm not really taking care of myself anymore because I just, it's me. It's my own body. Like, you know, it's refreshing. You'd be like, I'm not refreshed.
Yeah.
I am definitely not refreshed.
Well, I do feel sympathy for the ladies. But I'm about to say something sexist, which is that it seems like the standards are slightly different. You know, it seems to me that you can see a really beautiful woman with a schlubby boyfriend, with a schlubby poet boyfriend with a beard.
A beautiful, sexy Latina.
A beautiful, sexy Colombian woman having like schlubby, everyday boyfriends, you know? And whereas you don't see it as often the other way, where a beautiful model man is going out with like just a schlubby, chubby girl.
I don't think I've seen that.
You know,
I don't think I've seen that in my life.
No, I hear it's true. I hear it exists out there in the world somewhere. But yeah, I mean, it certainly doesn't seem like a... So I don't know what the story is there. Is it that men are so superficial that they just won't sleep or won't be with a woman that's not physically attractive? Yeah. Or is it that women see the better things in men that and are able to look past the schlubby dad bod?
Well, I think it's the second one is that, well, really is just women.
Well, it's a combination, probably.
A little bit deeper, probably, in terms of what they're attracted to. Because, I have met many beautiful women who are like, I'm not really into dating the super hot models thing, although, of course, I can date anyone, but I'm not really into that because that's not what really, I enjoy. It's the, the mental side of things. And I'm like, whew, thank God.
Lucky me.
So
I can take my shirt off now?
So how about this drink? And they're like, no, I still, obviously, you are intellectually not up there at all and can't be this thing. I'm telling
sorry.
you
thought I was saying you were intelligent.
One of those. No.
No. I do have some standards.
Yeah, I do have a certain level. So yeah,
Giant gorilla dog thing. Go check them out. I just shared them on my personal Facebook page. Add me, Harley Neville, and also I did share them the other day on the Facebook page for the Guy and Harley podcast, which is facebook.com/Guy and Harley. So go along, giant gorilla dog thing. Watch their video.
So we left the last episode on a cliffhanger.
Yes,
our first ever cliffhanger.
What was that?
So we had some feedback from Jeremy Howson.
Yep.
Which we were going to get into, and then we needed an update on your harebrained scheme to masturbate into a cup and give that to the world.
Right, yeah.
To the world.
I forgot
and
about
this is my gift you were giving to people, and you were saying, here you go forth and multiply.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
my sperm.
So I have put my name forward to be a sperm donor.
Yeah.
And my justification for this is, aside from the fact that I'm helping some couple with infertility issues, that's all well and good. But I'll be really honest. My principal motivation is that I want to secure my legacy. I'm 33 years old. I haven't had any kids yet. I don't really see myself having kids in the next, little while. I mean, maybe one day. I'm not saying never, but just at the moment, it doesn't appeal to me. And so I'm thinking, how can I pass on my genes, which is very important to me as an atheist. It's someone who I'm not going to heaven, right? So I'm not going to, what is my legacy going to be? And it's like, okay, well, I need to affect positive change in the world. That's one part of my legacy. And another thing is to pass on my genes and physically affect evolution. And so I want to do that. And so I was like, well, how can I do that? Boom. This is genius. I can have 16 kids and not have to worry about any of them, pass on my genes, completely almost guarantee to affect evolution if I have that many kids. Win-win. So that's what I have been put my name forward for. But the thing is that they got back to me and they said, yeah, look, here's the thing. Nobody wants a short, bald guy with a hairy back. The thing is, nobody wants your sperm.
The thing is, we don't want your jizz.
You are short, bald, and comically hairy. And I'm afraid that's just not...
That's not really what people are going for when they select their sperms.
It's about
at our institute. I'm sorry.
It's about supply and demand, and there's just no demand for your product, sir. But then they said, so we'll get back to you. Watch the space, and then I haven't heard anything back from them. So that is the end of the update. There is no update. The update is there is no update.
Well, look, I mean, I just thought of many more reasons why you shouldn't do it.
Okay.
First of all, nature versus nurture. This whole idea that you're passing on your genes, whipty fucking shit. There's about a whole bunch of more bald, hairy guys in the world. Fuck off. The important thing for you, if you wanted to influence evolution and you wanted to influence sort of the world going forward without you, you would have to raise all those kids and ingrain in them your teachings, your learnings, your principles, because you could meet this guy on the street in 30 years and go, this guy is the literal worst human being I've ever met. He's religious. He's a racist. He's a homophobic. You can meet a Jim Eaton. Your son could easily become a Jim Eaton depending on the environment that he was brought up in. So just having a bunch of kids to these randoms who are going to be honest, definitely instill in the principles that you probably don't agree with is not going to help your evolution thing.
Well, see, I think you're missing the point there, though, because I can either have no kids and no effect on and raise nobody, or I can pass on my genes but have no direct effect on them either. And I would rather do that. I would rather pass on my genes. Lifespan on Earth for something like 4.5 billion years or something like that was the very first. What do they call them? Procarpiates or something like that. The very first life forms were found like 4 and something or other billion years ago, right?
Potassium permanganates.
That's not it, but procarpiates, I can't remember. But anyway, the very first thing. So we've been evolving for 4 and a bit billion years, and I'm gonna be the guy that drops the ball and just lets it not. I don't pass on my genes after all of those, organisms before me. They all pass on their genes, and I don't. No, I don't like it. I'd rather pass on my genes. Now, sure, there's a risk that the people raising them could be complete dicks and raise total dicks, but hey, I'll be dead. Won't be my problem.
Well, you won't be.
And they might, maybe that kid will have another kid, and maybe that kid will be good. You'll still carrying my genes.
You'll still be alive. But that's what I think is that they say that basically it is all to do with your environment.
But I'm not talking about raising good people. I don't care about. I'm not saying that I have to raise a good person. I'm saying I have to pass on my genes.
Yeah, but even then, the argument is flawed because the thing is, you are probably going to pass on your genes.
I probably are, I probably am.
So the only way that your argument works is if you are like, nah, you can't have. I'm going to jizz. We're going to freeze this jizz just in case I don't have kids. Then go give it to everyone. But they don't do that.
It's just another egg in a different basket. That's all it is. Like say I do have kids one day. That's great, but say he gets hit by a bus, well, what am I going to do? Start again? What if he's gay? What if he doesn't want to pass on his genes because he's gay? Right? I have to have gene insurance, and that is what this sperm bank is. Gene insurance.
The other thing is, you're going to have a girlfriend one day that's going to have some questions surrounding this.
Firstly, I would not. It's not like you have to. It's not something that affects your day-to-day life. Like, oh, God, I've got to go visit the 16 kids. Like you could literally never ever mention it because it just doesn't matter. But you could also bring it up. And I told Angie of my plan to do this, and she's still with me. And so like I don't really have any issue. I mean, honestly, that is if I met a woman and in the future and I told her that I have 16 kids because I'm a sperm donor, that is probably one of the least crazy things about me.
No, I think that she's like, look, the thing is, I consider having a kid a special thing.
Oh, if she's a prude, mate, like it depends on, just because that's your beliefs, that's not.
Well, no, but that's not what I'm saying.
That's not what everyone believes.
I'm not saying it's my beliefs, but I am saying that, like, to a lot of people, they'll be like, wait a second. So you were planning to have kids anyway, but just as an insurance policy, you whacked off in a fucking cup.
And honestly, if she is wife material, if she's wife material who really gets me, she will get it.
And they're like, you weren't 50, you weren't 60. This is literally at 33 years old.
What difference does it make what age I was?
Because the chances of you having a kid are very high.
Yes, but those two things are not related. It doesn't matter if I'm going to have a kid as well. I'm not saying that I'm not. I'm saying it's insurance for if I don't. And even if I do, I don't. It's fine. I don't mind passing on my genes and, spreading the seed, man. You got to spread the seed. Look at all the successful organisms in evolution. They spread their seed far and wide. Now, what's an ethical way that I can do that?
That's not ethical.
That is ethical.
No, it's not ethical.
It's 100% ethical. I am helping people with fertility issues so they can have kids.
No.
That is ethical.
Because
unethical would be going around banging a bunch of chicks.
No, unethical because the world is overpopulated.
It's not overpopulated.
Yes, it is.
It's not overpopulated at all. We have more than enough resources for everybody.
We have more than enough resources.
The issue we have here is that we have a very inefficient system, which is this whole corporate system, where we waste a lot of resources, and so that and we have inequality where some people have everything and some people have nothing.
Yeah.
The problem is our system doesn't distribute what we have, but there's plenty of resources here on Earth for our population.
But that's not true, Harley, in terms of actually we are overpopulated in terms of what we're doing to the Earth. And unless
So we
can
need to
reverse
change what we're doing to the
but
earth.
the truth is we can't change it in time. And you
So
having
your argument is that I shouldn't help people with fertility issues because there's already too many people
No,
on the
my
planet.
argument is this, right? The world is overpopulated. You having 16 kids is going to make it more overpopulated. You having 1 or 2 kids that you actually raise correctly, that's fine because at least you're going, hey, kids, for example, the world is overpopulated and you are one of the kids that are going to figure out the solution to our problems. But having another 16, that's just contributing to the problem.
No, because you there's too much speculation here. You're talking about you don't know what these parents are going to be like. We don't know anything about them yet.
No,
So
but
you're speculating that they're going to be raising these bad kids.
No, but all I need to know is that every person on Earth should not have that many kids. I know that for a fact. And if every person on Earth had that many kids, it would create even bigger problems for us.
But we're not talking about every person on Earth having that many kids. We're talking about me.
You, which makes it unethical.
No, we're talking about me having my kid that I have in the future, maybe. And we're talking about an infertile couple having 1 kid and another infertile couple having 1 kid, right? So that's 2 adults for 1 kid. That's really, if you do the maths, we're not talking about 16 kids per person at all.
Well, we don't know because we don't know how much your sperm is going to be used.
Well, we don't, exactly. It could be used once or twice.
Yeah, but it could be used more than that.
It could be, but
because there's millions
again,
in there.
Complete speculation. Like we don't know here.
But
so for the listeners, here you're going to have to weigh in for us.
Oh yeah,
right?
please
so
do.
Please go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/Guy and Harley, and give us your opinions. Who's right? Who's wrong? What are the pros and cons of the sperm donating thing? Is Guy's argument that it's unethical to help people with fertility issues?
No, that is unethical to have a bunch of random kids that when you're going to have a kid and you don't need to have more kids.
What about the infertile couple?
The infertile couple have plenty of sperm donors to choose from that aren't you.
Okay, exactly.
So they don't need you.
So they might not even choose me.
Yeah,
exactly.
but so there's no need to contribute to that. As this isn't a thing between.
No, but if they don't choose me, Guy, then they don't. Then it doesn't count. If they don't choose me, then
what
they don't
you're
have
saying
the kid.
is like.
I'm just putting my hand up.
But exactly, but you don't need to put your hand up. You don't need to. You're contributing something that is not necessary.
No, but I do, because that's why they're advertising asking for sperm donors. So they do need it. It is necessary.
They just probably want to keep.
They're just probably they're asking for people because they need.
They're asking for people because they need a constant
supply of sperm.
Yeah,
of spoof. They need a constant supply of spoof.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean that they're gonna run out.
It does mean they're gonna run out, Guy, because spoof is a finite resource, and when you're putting it in, when you're using it to fertilize eggs and so on, you're running through it. So they do need more in order to help infertile couples.
But honestly, if you're going to have kids, it is very irresponsible for the world to have more. You only need
absolutely preposterous.
No, honestly, if every person in the world has 1 kid, that's too many kids.
Yeah, so what do you want? Are you saying we should invest in some eugenics?
So what I'm saying is
forced sterilization because there's too many people in the world.
What I'm saying is you have a responsibility not to be irresponsible by having your own kid plus having many other random kids you spermed to. That's what I'm saying.
Right. Well, I disagree with you fundamentally. I think that if an infertile couple needs sperm and they want a short, bald, hairy-backed sperm donor, I think that I have a moral responsibility to put my hand up.
You don't have a moral responsibility.
It's like donating blood, man. It's the same thing.
It's not like donating blood.
It is. I'm making a huge difference in someone's life.
No, donating
for the positive.
No, not the
difference.
Positive. Because
positive because they're now having a kid.
Yeah, which is not a good thing.
Oh, so there you go. Infertile couples, if you're listening, Guy does not think you should have children.
No. What I think
that is what Guy just stated.
No, what I'm stating right now is that if you're infertile, you don't necessarily need to have a kid because we have too many kids in the world. Right? So the idea that, I'm infertile, so I have to find a way to have a kid is not the correct way of thinking because actually, in fact, due to overpopulation, due to the fact that we are using up all our resources, due to the fact that you're birthing a kid into potentially a very dangerous world of their future, which we have created for them. There is many, many reasons why you may not wish to have a kid or may choose specifically not to have a kid if you find yourself infertile.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, I think I've given Guy enough rope to hang himself there. You guys
what do you
can,
mean?
you guys
what's wrong with
can
that?
let us know. You just told infertile people that they shouldn't have kids
No, I
because
didn't.
there's too many people in the world.
Oh, no, I said there's many reasons why if you're infertile,
You
your
shouldn't do
choice,
it.
Your choice
Yeah.
would not be to automatically
if-
search for someone to have a kid with.
Let me tell you, if you were infertile, if you're a part of an infertile couple trying to have a kid, you are just highly insulted by what you just said. So
Yeah, but they're trying to have a kid.
Yeah, and
that's
they
not the
can't.
same thing. I didn't say when you're trying to have a kid. I said if you find that you're infertile.
So they've got to use a sperm donor.
Yeah, but you just completely changed the thing because
I
you
haven't
said
changed
you said
anything.
when you're trying to have a kid. I didn't say when you're trying to have a kid. I'm saying if you found
Don't
yourself
nitpick on
infertile.
do not nitpick on the terminology I used.
Well, no, because
trying to
that
have a kid.
changes something completely different.
No, they are trying to have a kid, and I don't mean by them having sex. I mean any way of trying to have a kid, whether that's adopting or whether that's sperm donor or whether that's just having lots
Adopting
of
is a
sex.
much better option for everyone.
Sure. Okay. Well, take it up with the infertile couples that are using sperm donors.
But I'm not. But that's not my point. My point is that as an infertile couple, it's not insulting to say you don't necessarily need a kid. You may want a kid, but that's not an insult. How is that an insult to you?
Trust me, you would be highly offended that this guy who, when all you really want is to raise a family and you realize that you can't, and then there's somebody on his high horse saying, well, you shouldn't be using sperm donors. There's too many people in the world.
I'm not saying you shouldn't use sperm donors. I'm saying you shouldn't necessarily have a kid.
Yes.
And that's not just
You're saying if you can't have a kid, that you shouldn't have a kid. You shouldn't have, then you shouldn't...
You shouldn't necessarily have a kid. Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm also saying that to couples who aren't infertile.
All right.
So, but you can't twist my words to go...
I'm not twisting
Well,
anything.
you are. You're going... First you said, if you're infertile, trying to have a kid. I said, if you're infertile. Then you said, if you're infertile and trying to have a kid, you shouldn't have a sperm donor, which is, again, not actually what I said. Though neither of those two things are what I said.
Okay, mate. So I think we're all we can move on anyway. So let us know what you think, listeners. Who's in the right? Who's in the wrong?
Does Harley need to contribute his sperm to the world, or could he just wait to have a kid?
What are your opinions? So that was good. So you moving on. Guy is officially an Uber driver, if I'm not mistaken.
No, that's not true.
Oh well, I saw your picture on Facebook the other day.
Yeah, I've got my passenger service license, but I'm still waiting for another license. This is the problem with the Uber driving thing. It's the whole bureaucracy. This is not just Uber. This is taxi driving. But essentially, right, say you're a taxi driver from another country. You've done that for 30 years. You come over to New Zealand because of some horrible atrocity going on. You're a refugee. You're an asylum seeker or something like that. They go, what's your bread and butter, dog? You go, taxi driving. I'm incredibly safe. Never crashed in 20, 30 years. They go, cool. Hey, you need your passenger service license. You go, well, I have this equivalent over here. And they go, nah, sorry, you need our passenger service license. You go, oh, okay. Well, how long does that take? Well, you have to fill out this form and do these courses and do these exams. And you go, cool. Okay. How long does that take? Oh, that takes a couple of, 3 or 4 days. You go, sweet. So then I'll have the license? No. Then you'll wait 8 weeks for us to send you that license in the mail. And you go, oh, because I kind of need to start working now. It's my bread and butter. I'm a taxi driver. No, sorry. That's just how long it takes for everyone. Can't pay more money to speed up that? Nope. Okay, cool. I've done that. Come back 8 weeks later. Cool, I've done that. Oh, sweet as. Okay. Just this one other thing you need. Transport service license. What is that? Oh, well, that's the other thing that you need after you get your passenger service license. Well, what does that mean exactly? Oh, you just pay us $500 and we put a little thing on your warrant of fitness. Okay, how long does that take? Oh, 21 days and $500 to put a little thing on your card. You can, and that's not counting the $90 that you pay to go in and like get them to assess your car. So you think that assessment of the car
And the $12,000 you pay for a new car.
Yeah. And so they've assessed the car and they go, okay, here's the things you need. You go, okay, I've got all those things you need. You go, cool. Now we just get the transport service license for $500 in 21 days. So I'm waiting for that transport service license. But it's just been a whole lot of like total nonsense at a certain point.
So what is the total debt that you've had to accumulate before you can even start earning as an Uber driver?
Well, it's changed a little bit. So in the middle of this process, they said you don't need a passenger service license, which is the most expensive thing. So after I'd got my passenger service license...
What, did they change the rules?
They changed the rules. And they go, Uber's decided you don't need a passenger service license. And I was like, fuck, I just spent $1,200 on that. So that's one thing. So that is now made it easier, but that is kind of like, this is the problem with Uber, is they're kind of a bit too fuck you government-y in their sort of business models. And so they frequently try and like work around these kind of specific rules that are in place. And it kind of gets them into trouble. Like, for example, I was just told in Australia and Victoria, Uber driving has been banned. Just 100%. It's illegal. Can't do it anymore. We don't want that over here, obviously. But the reason that it's like that is because of their kind of like, all these rules were put in place to drive people around for taxis. And Uber has sort of been like, yeah, well, let's bypass them all in sneaky ways that kind of make us not a taxi, but really we are completely a taxi. And the government, obviously, and the land transport agency is like, well, hang on, we put all these rules in place to kind of basically extort money out of taxi drivers, but we can't extort this money out of you. We're not happy. And so that's the ongoing thing. So in total... I think we're looking at probably about just under or even probably touching $2,000. And I haven't started driving
That's
yet.
not counting the car.
And that's not counting the car, which was $11,300. So, you know...
It's a lot of rides.
It's a lot of rides. It's a lot of upkeep. But I mean, for example, the car thing is like I did need a new car.
Yeah.
And I was getting to the point where I was a little bit tired of driving old shitters around that kind of crap themselves after a couple of years.
I have now taken custody of
that
Guy's
old shitter
because it's still got a warrant, so I'm using it until the warrant dies.
It's actually really annoying because it's taking up a parking space on our street.
Right.
And actually there's not that many parking spaces at a lot of times, so it's been really irritating for me. I'll come home from work and they'll be all blocked up and I have to park miles away, and my old shit car is parked right outside my house.
Well, you can probably move that if you want and just chuck it down at wherever you're parking currently and then put your car there.
I saw a sign on someone else's car down our street.
What did it say?
It said, please leave. And I wondered if that car had just been left there outside someone's house, or whether this was some passive aggressive neighbor being like, like, we hate you, please leave. I couldn't decide. So
I think there's a guy who lives across the road from us, a builder, who I suspect is a total ballsack.
Right.
He's been building his house for ages there, but he always he deliberately parks a trailer behind his truck in order to take up a second space. Like he leaves his trailer on to take up second space, and when he's not home he puts out cones out the front of his house so that nobody takes his park. And it's like, motherfucker, that's my park as much as it's your park. It doesn't matter if it's outside your house. That's just a cunty thing to do. And then on top of that, he's now built a driveway into his own house, which is fine, so he can park his car under his house. But I don't really know what the rules are there, but all I know is that now that he's got a driveway, there's one less park on the street.
That's a good point.
Can anybody just be like, I'm making a driveway now, and then just we've all got driveways and there's no parks on the street? Like, how does that go?
Kind of weird.
How does that work? You know?
Presumably he did have to get a permit from the council
or something. Yeah. On top of that, I saw him one day fighting with there's this kind of crazy. He's not homeless. He lives. I think he owns a home at the bottom of our street. But he definitely seems a little bit crazy. He kind of wanders around, and he like, I've had a few conversations with him about like firewood when I used to like hunt firewood for the fireplace and stuff. He'd be doing the same. And anyway, I saw him one day having like a big old fight. The builder, this like jock kind of like muscly builder guy, rich builder Graylin dude, was having a fight, a big heated argument with like this crazy homeless looking guy from the bottom of the hill. And he's like, "Oh, just go back to your little house at the bottom of the hill, mate. Just go back to the bottom of the hill." Like, just total ball bag. So yeah, anyway, small aside about the ball bag that lives across the road from us.
Well, honestly, it's not really a great, like, I think that it's not really a great street to be like a homeowner on, the street Graylin that we live on, because it's full of flats and full of kind of young people flatting, and then interspersed with a couple of houses which, you know, people actually own and are living in. And those people, like, kind of have to accept that this is not going to be, like, a suburbia, you know, family street.
It will be soon enough, I reckon.
Yeah, I don't know. No, I don't think so, because I think that the people that own the houses will be making more money from charging rent than,
Well, now we will get to Jeremy Howson, but I just wanted to say, while we're talking about Uber drivers, the other night I Ubered along to do poetry.
Yep.
And when I got there, I told the guy I was going to the poetry night, and he was like, "Oh, okay." He was like an old middle-aged white guy, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm a poet too." And I was like, "Oh yeah, cool," you know. And then he pulled out of the glove box a big old poem, and he was like, "I'll just read you a little bit of this. I'll just read you a little bit."
And you're like, "Oh, your stars are going down, mate. Your stars are going right down now.
Come on, bro. Come on." Yeah. And he's like, "I'll just read you a little bit." It was 4 pages long, and he read the whole thing. And I just sort of, like, you know, like, stand there politely. Like, I'd gotten out of the Uber at this point, you know, because I was just about to go inside, you know. And I had to stand there and sort of, you know, politely smile and stuff. And I was like, "Oh, cool. Yeah, nice one, bro." And he's actually the second poet Uber driver I've had, because I had another one who was this woman who also had a big, long poem in her glove box and gave it to me to read while we were driving.
Jesus. This is the company you keep, mate. These are your brethren.
Well, speaking of
you should have been fucking high-fiving them and like fucking walking in the thing with them. They're your fucking bros.
Well, we'll get back to my poetry brethren soon enough. For now, we'll get to Jeremy Howson.
Yeah.
I do have a few poetry updates for the week. So Jeremy Howson said, this is referring to a couple of episodes, an episode a little while back, because Guy went into his drug trial, got paid $5,000. What did you pay? $5,500 to
so 4,000, like 400 after tax. I think.
So to be in a guinea pig in a drug trial. So Jeremy Howson said, a couple of pieces of feedback. Firstly, how could Harley not call out Guy on literally risking his life for $5,500, but asserting that he wouldn't sleep with Harley for $1 million each? It's nowhere near as dangerous as long as he double bagged. And also, for the sheer amount of time, it is a no-brainer. 16 horrible days versus 15 terrible minutes. So we'll start with that.
Yeah.
So, because Guy did say that he would not sleep with... Yeah. If an eccentric billionaire offered us $1 million each to fuck in front of the billionaire, would we do it? I said yes, Guy said no.
Well, I guess that's also, the argument that Jeremy could make, because I was about to say, well, that's prostitution. And it's like, well, am I not prostituting my body with these drugs?
Yeah, it's not a sexual prostitution, but it's still a prostitution of sorts. It's still selling your body.
Yep. But look, the short answer is, I'm a man of principles, Jeremy. I'm a man of principles. And like, money also, I think, that's another thing is like, obviously... when I don't have any money, it's bad. But money does not mean much to me in my life, really. Like, in terms of, like, I don't chase money. I don't dream even really of having heaps of money.
Please keep in mind that Jeremy is one of our 2 Patreon patrons.
Thank you, Jeremy.
He gives us money per video that we put out.
But I guess even, like, when I fantasize about success... I'm always fantasizing about
the glory and the bitches, not the money.
The sort of like making films that affect a lot of people, or stories or whatever that people like really engage with. And that's the thing. I'm imagining the critical success of people going, this is a great piece of work. I'm not thinking like, and I'll have millions of dollars, or and this will mean that I'll get millions of dollars. I just don't really think like that. So even like, to be honest, $1 million is, I mean, it's great, but shit, it goes, $1 million is not $1 million anymore, you know? $10 million.
$1 million is a house in Grey Lynn nowadays.
Yeah, exactly. And not even a shitty house in Grey Lynn.
Yeah.
$10 million is the new $1 million now.
Yeah.
And then if you said 10 million, well, then we're going to have to reevaluate.
Then butter up.
But again, it's just, you know, it's sort of like that thing of like, you know, even if I had my $10 million and I'm like, I bummed Harley to get this. This isn't real money. I didn't earn it. You know,
Yeah, that's still earning it, man.
Yeah, but I didn't earn it.
That's
like
earning it.
That's not earning it.
Who cares? $1 million, 15 minutes.
I haven't earned it.
Just close your eyes and think of England.
I have not earned it. So, you know, I think that even if I was spending that money, I'd be like, just don't feel right. Whereas, you know, taking a drug, you know, from an ethical standpoint is actually like, I'm helping sick people. This is really good if this drug goes ahead in it. Now, for either way I've helped them, I've found out that it's seriously poisonous and might kill you. So that's good. They know that now. They can walk away knowing, look, we got to go back to the drawing board. But had it been the other way around, they go, okay, so now we can start testing this on people who are suffering from, it was for hepatitis C, and it might help them cure them. I think that's what they're looking at. Like they've got a whole bunch of trials going on with hepatitises and and are very close or have potentially maybe cured some people with some of these drugs. Not obviously the drug that I had, but and I don't know whether it was B or C that they cured. But the point is, they're doing actually good work there. So again, you know, to take $5,000, I mean, I think you should be more worried, Jeremy, that there wasn't more resistance from him. Like, I believe his when I said that I was going to do this, his comments were
about me.
Yeah, his comments were, that's going to make for a great story. They were like, bro, are you worried about your health? Because I'm worried for you, bro.
Well, I did obviously consider, I was like, well, as Guy's friend, do I have a responsibility to talk him out of this?
And the answer was no.
Well, no, the answer was, Guy's a grown fucking man, you know, with a thinking mind of his own, and he's obviously thought this through, and before you know, he's assessed the risks and decided it's worth it. And me, personally, I mean, I would probably do it as well. I mean, maybe less likely now, but more, you know, before you did it, I'd probably be like, yeah, all right, I'd probably do that as well. So it's not like I had any issue with it, you know. It's something that I would do too.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, it was like, well, look, if Guy's broke and he's resorted to doing this, and you had been talking about doing it for quite a lot of years. This was not a brand new thing that you just suddenly did. It was something you'd obviously thought about for quite a lot of years. I was like, well, look, if Guy's broke and has decided to make this decision, who am I, as his friend, who am I to talk him out of doing it? That's a bad friend thing to do. You know, let the guy fucking live.
Also, you know, it was a matter of quite extreme desperation. I should probably add that, because, you know, that influenced my decision too. Like, if I'd been quite comfortable financially at the time, I would have probably been like, that's probably not worth it. But the fact that I was like, okay, like, you know, I've got heaps of debt. I'm not really making quite enough money to kind of even get on top of the debt to start paying back the debt. You know, plus I got my Uber plans, which I don't have any money to do. It sort of all contributed to the decision. Yeah.
Secondly, this is from Jeremy Howson.
Yep.
Secondly, you have mentioned moving to the same podcast network as My Kiwi Life before. That was because at the end of that particular episode, we argued about as to whether we had spoken about that before.
Yeah.
We have. Lastly, I'm pretty sure I haven't heard the supermarket shit story yet, because you said that we had spoken about it and I said that we hadn't. But we spoke about me shitting my pants up a cherry tree, but I don't believe we spoke about me shitting my pants in the supermarket.
Well, I mean, I feel like the story continued. So it started with the cherry tree and continued to the supermarket. I'm pretty sure, but I could be wrong there.
Well, look, in summary, Jeremy, we'll give the abridged version.
Yep.
I ate. There was a box of Eclipse mints. They used to have these really nice cinnamon Eclipse mints. They got rid of that flavour, possibly because everyone kept shitting their pants.
to extreme shitting.
And so I really liked them. And one day I
don't even remember those cinnamon mints. They've been gone so long. Yeah.
Well, I was out shopping, I had various things to do. I had, various stops to make. And so I went I was at the warehouse initially. I think I was at the warehouse, and basically I ate these 50 of the mints in the container over the course of an hour or two, just munching them down.
Which is really a lot of mints.
If you think about it.
By any standards. Like, if you think about, you have a mint, you suck on it, you maybe having a couple more.
Them. That's the problem. But then, so I ate all 50 of the mints anyway, and then I was sitting in the car outside the warehouse, which is like a big, like Walmart, and... Oh, wait, Jeremy's from New Zealand anyway, but yeah, anyway. And then, I was sitting in the car and I farted and I shit my pants right there in the car. But the thing was, I still had things to do. I was out in the city. I couldn't go all the way home to change my pants. So I went into the warehouse and waited in line to go to the toilet, and there was a lady there waiting beside me, and I was just like, sup?
Hey.
With like shitty
I've just
bum.
filled up my pants.
Hey, I'm shitty bum Neville. And so it wasn't my fault. It was just a little fart, but it was a wet one. And then so after that, I was like, okay, I'm all cleaned up. That's good. I'm all sorted. I cleaned myself up, and then I went to the supermarket to get some stuff, and I was just walking around infecting the entire supermarket. I did wash my hands, and then I was pushing the trolley along, and I sort of did a little fart, and I didn't really think about it, and then I did another little fart because I was still quite farty from these mints, and then I shit my pants, and I just shit my pants again. I just had to leave my trolley. My trolley was like full of stuff. I just had to leave it in the middle of an aisle somewhere and just waddle down the aisle to find a toilet, but there was no toilet in Countdown, so I had to leave Countdown and waddle along the streets trying to find a public toilet. Eventually I found a public toilet, cleaned myself up, and that is the story of when I shit my pants at the warehouse and the Countdown twice in one day.
Cinnamon mints.
Stay away from them.
Stay away from cinnamon
Harley,
mints.
you have shit your pants an unforgivable amount of times for a grown man.
Well, look, yeah, and of course, shit your pants once in a day. Shame on me. Shit your pants twice in a day. Shame on you. Should have known that was coming. So, what was the other part of that?
And then
She hadn't heard the shit your pants story before that.
And then that's it from Jeremy Howson. Just
okay.
and the same podcast network as My Kiwi Life.
Oh yeah, well, update to that.
Oh yeah,
I can give you a little update to that.
Yeah, this is news to me.
This is classic Harley Neville. Not really thinking about his actions. Just
what did I do?
Wanton destruction.
What did I do?
So basically, we're having a chat. Well,
who's we?
Myself and someone else who's on that podcast. We don't need to name names.
Yeah.
But he basically said, I put two and two together. I don't think we're going to be on that podcast, Harley.
Why? You mean on the podcast network?
On that podcast network.
Yeah.
Because the gentleman who runs the podcast network is apparently a religious man.
Oh, right.
Quite seriously religious man.
Yeah.
And if he's listened to any fucking one of our podcasts, or the last three podcasts, he'll hear you ranting and raving about the evils of it.
That's not. I only mentioned it in one podcast, and that was when you said I only mentioned a line of it in one poem.
It was in the poem last week.
Yeah, that was it.
Which continued on to your sentiments following on from that poem. Yeah. Which were, can you recall what they were?
Which was that pisses me off. That religion pisses me off when people's personal beliefs, have a real effect on the physical world.
That's true, but you did phrase it slightly differently to that.
Also, yeah, I admit, I do touch on religion a lot. It really pisses me off. I'm sorry, guys, but it fucks me off when people believe in imaginary stuff that physically affects the real world. It bothers me. I'm sorry.
And also, we have dedicated a fucking 6-minute segment to Gravity, the anti-religion poem.
It's not 6 minutes. We did have an entire episode, though, called... it was an entire episode basically about religion and how bad it is. Yeah. And you were in on it too. I wasn't alone.
I took a more sort of not neutral stance.
The Holy Rod of Jesus.
Yeah,
that was what it was called.
Yeah,
that episode was called The Holy Rod of Jesus.
Yeah. I actually forgot about the Holy Rod of Jesus. But you combine all these things. There's just some business ventures that aren't going to work, and that is really one of them. You working with a super religious guy.
Yeah. Well, that's fine though, because I don't fight with super religious people or anything.
Nah, but it's just like a
express my
fundamental
opinions.
difference of ideas, and also like I said, if you were a super religious guy, there is no possible way in hell that you could endorse this podcast. Like, no way.
I guess it depends on your work ethic. Really, it just depends how business you are. Like, if you want,
But it's honestly like
I don't. If I ran a podcast network and somebody had a very evangelical religious podcast, but it was getting viewers and listeners and all the rest of it, I'd be like, well, whatever. Like, I don't know if I'd really care.
I think you'd care.
You think I'd? You think I would not allow them on the podcast? So I wouldn't allow them on the network. Maybe if it was like a full-blown evangelical one, I would.
That's what I'm saying.
But if it was like a normal podcast who sometimes got a little bit praise Jeebus.
But no, I'm more talking
because we just sometimes get a little bit anti-religion, but most episodes we don't discuss religion.
Well, most of the time we don't. But I don't know. Actually, probably if you went back through these podcasts, you'd definitely see an atheistic theme emerging.
Well, I think that's true.
Very obviously.
Yeah.
And I just think that it's like, it's like a Jewish guy having a Hitler sympathizer
podcast.
Yeah, podcast, and you're like, hey, just live and let live. He's got his opinions, we've got ours.
Well, I feel like that's a little bit extreme to compare me to Hitler, essentially, because that's a little bit much.
Well, no,
I'm not advocating the death of 6 million Jews.
Well, no, but it is a fundamental opposition of views.
Yeah, but we can meet in the middle. This is promoting discussion. And that ties in nicely, really, with the fact that I have been challenged. See, my poetry shit is blowing up. This shit is taken off.
Yep.
And I have recently been challenged to a poetry off.
A poetry rap battle.
A poetry battle with a religious guy who wants to do. He wants to set up a night.
He wants to go poem for poem.
Where we go. I think it's like, so it's live. We'll be on a stage in a bar, presumably. Yeah. Better be in a fucking bar. And
God forbid,
not be in a fucking church.
The turnout for this, man, I can only imagine the nuts on both sides.
Yeah,
the fucking crazy people in the audience
on both sides.
Total lunatics.
Yeah. Well, I have been challenged to a religious poetry off, and so I'll be interested to see how that develops and if that happens. And I'm a little concerned that there'll be some fucking fanatics in the audience.
That's the thing too, because how are you going to deal with essentially
with hecklers and shit,
Christian hecklers that are going, because don't you think, I feel like your poetry doesn't really allow for audience interaction.
No.
So if someone is screaming at the top of the lungs, "Oh, you're the devil!"
Yeah,
that's going to throw you off.
That is going to throw me off.
You're going to be like, no, but choose gravity because of Newton's law. I mean, you'll fall off the roof. Fuck.
Yeah. Well, I have to assume that whoever's organising it is going to keep the lunatics in line, because the whole point is that
Bedlam.
Because this dude initially challenged me to a debate. He was like, "Hey, how would you feel about like a debate, theology versus atheism, or theism, whatever it is." Anyway, and I was like, well, the thing is, I don't know how to debate a person. I've never done a debate in my life.
Could have fooled me at the start of this podcast.
Well, yeah, but I mean, apart from arguing with you, I've never been.
I think that leaves you well equipped.
Well, it would help, I think. But so anyway, but I was like, no, I don't want to do a debate about it. Because I don't back myself enough. I don't
give a fuck.
Well, I just don't back myself enough. Plus, on top of that, I'm not really interested in becoming a professional debater.
Yeah. But a poetry rap off.
But I said to him, I'm more interested in the poetry thing, and he was like, well, I did a bit of poetry. How about we make it a poetry thing then? And I was like, all right. So
I'd be a little bit concerned that he rigs the odds here.
Yeah.
So, he basically goes to church. He goes, we're going to teach this.
Yeah.
We're going to teach this boy a lesson.
Well, it is true that he will
teach this boy.
The audience there that night will be predominantly religious. You have to assume because, he goes to church and he goes, hey guys, there's a poetry rap battle, religion versus atheism, like everybody come along. And there's going to be a fucking entire room of religious nuts.
And you go on Facebook and you go, hey guys, I'm having a poetry rap battle.
Who's with me?
And like 4 people come along.
Well, I am a member of a few Auckland sort of skeptics groups and stuff, and I do think a lot of them would come along.
Well, you'd have to phrase it right for sure.
I do think that
us versus them.
Well, I do think that they say that what do they say? Trying to organize atheists is like herding cats.
Yeah,
because they all go their own way and do their own thing. So it might be kind of difficult to actually get them all there. But fuck. It's all just experience, I guess. It's all poetry practice.
Well, there's the thing though, because then is it because most rap battles are decided by the audience reaction.
Yeah.
So if he's got like a fucking
all his homies there,
90-10 split,
yeah,
you're gonna lose.
Yeah.
You've been set up.
Yeah.
This is a rigged boxing match.
Yeah. Well, that's all right. I'm not really going there to win. It's not really the type of thing you can win. It's one of those things. At the end of the day, we're all going to leave, and I'm not going to suddenly be. I'm not going to be religious because of his poem.
But imagine if he walks away. He's like, I'm questioning everything.
Yeah.
He walks away and he's like, there is no God. He's just stumbling out of the thing, going like he's lost his life is completely.
Well,
you've backflipped him.
We can only hope.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's all pretty exciting.
Well, look, this is a filmmaking podcast.
It's a podcast about our lives.
Well, I've got a few things to talk about, actually. Yeah. But I did want to talk about my man, Johnny Depp. The alleged
wife beater,
Johnny Depp. And he's just had this divorce from his young, formerly bisexual wife. You could see the writing on the wall here, right? You marry someone 25 years younger than you. She's been in she's clearly, there's nothing wrong with being bisexual, but clearly she has sort of extreme relationship views. She dates both people.
Surely he does as well have some pretty extreme relationship views.
Well, he was married for 13 years before she came along. 14 years with a couple of kids. And they had been with the same girl for sort of even longer than that, like maybe, 18 years or something. And then she came along with a crazy threesomes and just kind of blew him out of the water. And he was like, hey, and also I think everyone's throwing mud now. What's your take on the whole thing?
I didn't bother reading the article. I didn't. Okay. I mean, I heard something about his ex-wife saying that he was abusive. That's all I heard.
Yeah. So basically, he's just split up with his wife. Now she filed a whole bunch of things, which said that he allegedly, one time he threw a cell phone, it hit her in the face. Another time he's been physically, and I actually argued that that wasn't abuse to my girlfriend. But anyway,
well, it depends. Because if you were throwing the cell phone to hit her in the face, well, I'm afraid it's abuse. Yeah. But if you are just really angry and
that's
you throw
what I said.
a cell phone,
you're throwing it in anger at, but it is at them. It's in their direction. Yeah, but you're not trying to hit them in the head.
My ex-girlfriend threw a shoe at me.
Yeah, my ex-girlfriend threw a phone at me, which hit me in the head. And I didn't call up the police.
Yeah.
I go, ow.
Yeah.
Why did you do that?
Yeah.
That was uncalled for.
Yeah.
That hit me in the face. Yeah. But I didn't call up. And also I think if you're like a meter away from someone and you throw a phone in their face at point blank range, that's one thing, to throwing a phone from like across the room and it happens to scone them in the head and you're like, oh, I didn't really mean to do that. Ouch. But I've carried through with it now, so fuck.
So I better punch her.
Well, no, this is the thing. Apparently the cops were called one time. The cops left with no evidence that any foul play had taken place. He hasn't been charged with anything. But, she's basically saying that he was physically and mentally abusive for the whole time they were together. Is now her sort of and she never came out with it before because she wanted to protect both their careers.
Yeah. What's her career? What does she do?
She's an actress too.
Right.
But, just not on obviously the same level.
So she does stand. I'm not saying that this stuff didn't happen or anything like that, but when you're looking at it from the outside, looking objectively at it, sure, okay, he might have been abusive. He definitely might have. That could totally have happened.
Sure.
He is a crazy guy.
He does like to play crazy roles.
Well, also, I mean, I don't know if still, but he had drug problems as well.
Yeah.
And I think up until
that's what they're saying is, it's all tied into that. Like she is saying that.
I was on set. I mean, I was on set recently. I'm trying to remember who it was now, but I was on set sort of in the past year, and somebody on set was saying that they were on set of Pirates.
Yep.
And that he was all dopey and falling asleep and all on the opiates,
right?
Or I don't know if it'd be heroin or not, but like on some sort of opiate, some sort of downers, and that he was all dopey and using at the time, and that was quite recently.
No, that was the last big film he shot, basically. Yeah. But on the same token, he seemed very focused and all that stuff, and that one where Black Mass, Because playing a drunk pirate, that's not really a stretch if you're
high.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whereas doing something like what he did in that, or playing I don't know if you saw when he played Donald Trump in a Funny or Die video. He's very good at it.
Right.
Amazing, but no one's saying he's not a great actor.
Yeah.
That's not the issue.
Well, I didn't finish that line of thought, which was just that, sure, so he might be abusive, but also, objectively, you got to look at it as well and say, well, what does she have to gain as well from all this scandal? Yeah. Well, it's going to launch her into the limelight.
For sure.
Like as an actress, I've never heard of her, but she'll get way bigger if she gets a lot of public sympathy from this. And then on top of that, it always seems to be that when marriages fall apart, people start fucking slinging shit around.
Yep.
And you'd almost expect it.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll have to watch this space and see how that develops.
Yeah,
see what evidence comes out.
I'm inclined. I guess I would be 100% inclined to back to
her.
Johnny Depp.
Yeah. I have to assume that, for now, that the victim is telling the truth, but I don't want it to be true.
Yeah, so for me, if drugs and alcohol weren't a factor, I'd be inclined to believe him and go, well, she's probably trying to get a lot more money from him, and also because it ended bitterly trying to damage his reputation in that instance as well, because that'll make sense to do if you're feeling spiteful and also you want money. However, because drugs and alcohol are affected, people are different people when they're all fucked up and high. Completely different people. And, a lot of people have come to his aid and said, look, I've been married to Johnny Depp for 14 years. Nothing ever happened. His first wife before that was like, I was married to Johnny Depp. He wouldn't hurt a fly. He's the most chilled out, relaxed dude ever. And I think that, generally speaking, he probably is the most chilled out, relaxed dude ever. However, we don't know what happens when he gets all messed up on drugs, and that could be something where all those things change. So but I guess the other side of it, because what I just don't like, and I don't like, is you can report this stuff, but you can't report it with a skew to he hasn't been convicted of anything, right? And I don't think he's been charged with anything yet either. These are just things that the lawyers are bringing in the divorce settlement. They're not going, now we want to charge you with domestic violence. They're not doing that. They're saying these things happen in the marriage and we want more money.
Yeah.
Which are quite different things. But also there's a lot of stuff like, we should give up on Johnny Depp because he beats women. We should boycott his films because of this stuff. And it's like, well, hang on a second. At the moment, it is literally he said, she said. And you were going, because he allegedly, with no, proof, did these things, well, we should boycott him. And it's like, when he is convicted, sure, boycott the shit out of him. But until we get to that point, it's a little premature to be jumping the gun and saying, hey, he definitely did do all this stuff. Just like it would be, wrong to say, hey, he definitely didn't. But, you have to kind of stay on that 50-50 line till we get some conclusive evidence one way or the other. And as for the cell phone throwing thing, there's a lot of ways you can... I just having been in that experience, I wasn't like, God, I've been abused. I was like, everyone's angry and I've got hit in the fucking face because of it.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Things escalated to that point.
Yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, that's the sad tale. But for who was, and still is my favorite actor of that generation, I hope that it's not true, and I hope it works out for him.
Yeah. I hope it's not true as well.
What else?
Well, I got contacted by a filmmaker who has shot some short films, shot some stuff in Auckland, and he has apparently secured funding for his feature, which is going to be an extension of his short film.
Have you seen his short film?
I have not. I've seen little bits of it. I've seen his show reel. And let me tell you, show reel was nothing to brag about. It was... it was just very low quality, everything was very lo-fi, it looked very enthusiastic and everyone was doing sort of, it was quite ambitious and enthusiastic, all the sort of stuff in it, but it just wasn't really pulled off to a high technical sort of level from what I could see in that show reel. But, he contacted me and he's got this funding for his feature. So I was like, well, I'm interested in this, obviously, particularly because the role he's talking about using me for is only like a one-day shoot. So it's like, beauty. Great, why not? Even if it's terrible, I've still shown up, gotten paid, because it is going to be a paying gig, and I'm in another feature film, another IMDb credit. And so anyway, he contacted me and he was like, "Oh, what's your day rate?" And I was like, "Well, my day rate is really, negotiable depending on the budget and on the project, really, because basically, some things I'll act in for free, and some things you have to pay me for, but, mostly, it can be anywhere in between sort of thing, and so I was like, well, it's negotiable, depending on your budget, not a big deal kind of thing. And then he kept on pushing me, sort of later on. He was like, "Oh, so what's your day rate? Tell me your day rate." And I was like, and I literally don't have a day rate. I don't have a set amount that I am not willing to work for less than. I will work for nothing if it's a good project, or a good opportunity. And so I was like, "Oh, look, I don't really have a day rate. I recently got paid $11,000 for a day. And then more recently than that, I got paid $300 for a day. So how long's a piece of string? And then he was like, "Oh, okay, man, cool. I'll whatever. I'll think that through." And then he posted. He sent me a message, right, which was my own IMDb profile. It was my own IMDb profile, and it said, "Here's his IMDb. Here's his IMDb profile. Nothing to brag about."
Well, who wrote that?
He did. In the message to me, right, and I.
So he accidentally, he was copy and pasting.
He was copy pasting,
and he's like, "Who's this asshole expected $300 per day? Look at his IMDb profile. Nothing to brag about.
Nothing to brag about." And he sent it to me, and then I didn't see it straight away because I was doing something else. So he quickly sent these follow up messages, and he sent the IMDb profiles of two other actors that were involved with it, and he was like, "Oh yeah." So what I was saying is these other guys that are involved don't have anything to brag about in the IMDb, desperately trying to recover.
Yeah, fucked up.
And I was
fucked up. Yeah, fucked up, kid.
He did, and I was like, haha, you pasted that to me when you meant to paste it to someone else. Be honest.
Called him on it.
I called him on it. But yeah, and he was like, I better go to bed. It's quite late here.
Better go to bed.
He didn't have.
Better go to bed.
He didn't have a response for it. But I was like, wow.
One of the things that cracks me up the most in sort of, I guess, argument terms is when it gets to that point. When it gets to the point where whatever the point was that you made or that they made is so conclusively undisputable that they just essentially fall to pieces.
Bow out.
Like they just kind of just say something weird and go away.
Yeah.
Like it always, that point in an argument is always like kind of hysterical of like how that they just choose to end.
Yeah.
Like I've got to go to bed now.
Yeah.
Like I can't type another sentence. I literally, my eyes are closing. I gotta go to bed.
It's 6 p.m.
It's 6 p.m. in the evening. I better go to bed. So much sleeping to do right now.
So yeah, I thought that was kind of funny.
Are you going to be in it, or do you? Don't...
No, I think negotiations are still ongoing.
Nothing to brag about, Harley. But you're going to be in this.
Yeah,
it's interesting though, because also what I always think in terms of the, obviously you do attract people. Like if you're a sort of up and coming filmmaker, I think the biggest way to attract people is like with a really good script.
Yeah,
like if you Harley Neville reads a really good script with a really cool part, you'll go, oh sweet. That sounds cool, even if it is no budget.
Yeah.
And, even for us, like attracting people to older, like I remember I was having a conversation with one of the actresses and I was like, yeah, obviously, because there's a lot of sex in older.
Yeah.
There's a lot of sex and nudity in older. And I was
Our second feature film, Older, you can find it on Facebook, facebook.com/olderthemovie, and there's a trailer there. Go check it out.
I know, like, I wasn't nervous about shooting this stuff, but I was nervous about presenting this to actors and how they might feel about that.
Yeah.
And in fact, it was a sticking point with one particular actress who she was like, look, I love this script. I'd love to be part of it. I'd love to do it. But the nudity is just a no-go for me. And I was like, wow, then this movie's just a no-go for you, baby.
Yeah.
I didn't say that.
No.
I said, look, thanks for your time. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
But, that is kind of... And I did think, like, I'm not just throwing in random chunks of nudity for no reason. I'm throwing in random... was not random. It's like, for the story, I think it's true of what I'm trying to do, which is kind of like real-life relationships. People have sex in them. That's just what happens. And I think that we, especially in New Zealand, shy away from it on screen in a shit way. And I didn't want to do that. I want to do the opposite of that. So anyway, the actress goes, well, just send her the script. I'm sure she'll be totally on board once you send her the script. It's a good part. And I was like, just send her the script. And that's what I did. And she was like, I love the script. I love the character. I definitely really want to audition. I'm super keen.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was even after audition. But either way, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
And it was because it was a good, interesting character. So I think he's going about it a little bit the wrong way of like, before he shows you all that stuff, he's like, oh, what's your day rate?
Yeah.
He should be like, hey, man, I'd love you... or just to say, I'd love you to audition for this role. I've got you in mind for this. I'd love you to be in this thing. Here's the script. Let me know what you think. And that then really, one, that's quite flattering for you. Two, if the script is good, you'll definitely be like, oh, fuck, yeah. Do this for a day, no props. But copy and pasting your IMDb with snarky comments, probably the wrong approach.
Probably the wrong approach.
I think you also just have to be in this kind of social media digital age. You just have to be like, I was trying to think in my head, like in writing, like when have I really badmouthed people? Like that I'm working with.
Yeah. And
I would say not really.
Yeah.
Like very, very rarely at all have I actually in writing been bitching to someone that I'm and while also talking to that someone.
Yeah.
Like it's never really happened. So, but I think you've got to be, when you're sending, that you're in the middle of pre-production, you're sending texts, you're sending messages, you're talking to people on the phone. There's probably like 50, message icons up. This is so easy to do. Just don't do it. Don't be snarky about anyone. Just go, if you were going to say that, just be like, well, he doesn't have heaps of experience.
Yeah.
If you'd read that, you probably would have thought nothing of it.
Yeah.
But because there's nothing to brag about, you know that so you go, okay, so doing the mental arithmetic in my head, okay, what was that conversation he had with someone else? It's kind of like, okay, go back a couple of sentences. He's acting like a big shot and he wants too much money.
Yeah.
But look at his IMDb, he's a fucking joke, nothing to brag about. And then you kind of go, I'm offended.
Yeah.
I don't know what you said.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's pretty funny. It was good.
Yeah.
Well, we should talk a little bit about No Caller I.D. which we just finished the sound mix on yesterday.
So that's our short film, which is a film within a film in older, but it's also a standalone film that will be released separately as well.
And I've just been talking about doing a poster with the guy that did the poster for I Survived a Zombie Holocaust. Negotiations ongoing. I can assure you I did not write anything smart.
Yeah.
But we're hoping that he's going to do something for that, and I'm hoping to cut a little trailer for that that we will put online in the next couple of weeks, hopefully, as a little taster, because you won't be seeing it for a year.
Because it's going to be going to festivals and stuff as opposed to being uploaded to YouTube.
Yeah. So we have started the festival process, and I think that this is great for young filmmakers out there who don't really think about this. You go, yeah, so I'll submit it to festivals at the end, and hopefully it gets into some really cool ones, and then what? I don't know. Now, normally what happens is when you do submit to festivals, it's a little bit different with short films, but with features, certainly, then you get approached by most likely sales agents and sometimes distributors who go, hey, would like to represent this film or would like to distribute this film. Are you interested in making a deal? And that's how you sort of truly get your film out there. So the better the festivals and the better reviewed and stuff your film is, the more interest you'll get from those parties, the better deal you'll be able to get, the more likely you'll be able to make money. So, that's how it kind of works. But I think a lot of people get to the end of their film and they're like, shit, okay, here we go, submit it to festivals. All right. And they Google some festivals and they're like, top 10 festivals, whatever. And they go, okay, sweet. What's the first one? Oh, fuck. I need all these things. I need a DCP. Oh, we haven't done a DCP. We've run out of money. That's very important. Make a DCP. You can make them for free with a decent enough computer, but that's a digital cinema package. That's the thing that they play in the theatre. And that's the thing about most festivals want that. Because
for a short film as well?
Both, yeah. But you just put it on a little USB stick for a short film as opposed to a bigger hard drive. But, from a festival's point of view, they want to be playing these things on the big screen, looking amazing. So if you've kind of finished it to a laptop, that's not going to help your cause, and it's also going to make you look bad when they eventually do play it. Say they play yours off a Blu-ray or something, and then they play everyone else's off a DCP. Theirs is going to sound and look amazing, and yours is going to look like it should be watched on a laptop. So that's something to think about. But I think the biggest thing to consider is festival fees, and that is the killer because it's about normally around $40 to $60 US per festival submission. That's not per successful festival. So, what's $50 US over here? 70?
Something like that.
Yeah, about 70. So it's $70.
Might be more.
Per festival, right? Now, how many festivals do you want to enter? At least 20? Maybe 30? What's 20 or 30 times 70? Harley, can we do this math real quickly? Here we go. 30 times 70 equals $2,100 for all your submissions. Now that's also before,
and they take the fee regardless of whether or not you get into the festival. That's just that they take that fee for rejecting you.
You take that fee just to look at it, to look at your screener online, and so that's quite a lot of money. And that's when you're successful. Then you have to send them, it's a little bit easier if you're sending them a USB stick because you can send that in an envelope. But if you're sending them a feature film, you got to send it on a hard drive and you've got to send that track and trace. Do you know what track and trace to the UK is? It's $60. So that's $60 plus you have to buy the hard drive. The hard drive is $80. So per successful festival thing is
another $150 or something.
Yeah. And so if you even got it, so if anything, you're kind of hoping some of them might reject you just because you can't afford to fucking send this shit everywhere.
Yeah.
So we've submitted to 4 festivals so far. So a couple of big ones and a couple of smaller ones. To the value of something I think we've probably spent about $250 so far. Not cheap. And this is just the beginning. There's a whole nother round of festivals coming up mid-June, June, July, sort of August. So, yeah, festivals. submitting to festivals. Leave, if you can, a little bit of money set aside.
I hope we get into some cool festivals and can justify traveling to them, because I had an amazing time at the festivals I went to for Zombie Holocaust.
Yeah, me too. I'm a bit torn about the whole thing because, you know, like I've been to festivals with a feature film.
Yeah.
And people go like, whoa, you did a feature film. Oh, when's it
and you
playing?
go with the
cool.
short film, it's like, yeah.
Yeah, they go with a short film. Everyone's like, yeah, like, you know, there's
Good for you.
there's feature directors at this festival. We kind of want to talk to them. I
Yeah.
mean, no offense to you and your little shitty short.
Yeah.
That was real easy to do compared to what they pulled off. But we're just going to stand over here now.
Yeah.
And literally
But you would definitely feel like the B team if you went.
Yeah.
With and we felt like the B team,
and we had
I survived the zombie holocaust,
and we had a film
because sometimes we were competing with $1 million films and stuff.
Yeah, and we were just like these jobbers from New Zealand,
that nobody had heard of, with a film that nobody had heard of. So we would be the C team if we were a film that nobody heard of, jobbers from New Zealand, and it was just a short film.
So the only
would be fun though.
Yeah, it would be fun. I think the real justification was if like maybe it was winning awards at festivals.
Yeah.
So we had a good chance of winning an award, which I don't think we have a good chance of doing, just realistically speaking. Just because of the type of film it is. It's I've seen better short films. This is a well-made short film, but it's not, it's not the kind of short film that you walk away and go, this just changed my whole world. You go, this was a cool short horror film. It didn't change my world. So that's an interesting thing that we'll have to look at, because I do think we will get into some good festivals, but it's, is it worth the journey to do a bit of,
well, if we get invited,
pats on the back and all that?
Well, there's a bit of networking as well.
And
it's also great Facebook updates.
Well, to be honest,
helps raise the profile.
If we sort of found out we got into a festival, it might be worth also me like trying to write like a maniac, like a feature script. So we had that feature script with us, and they're like, what's your next thing? It's like, oh, well, we got this feature script, actually.
Yeah, check this out.
That could be a thing. Yeah. But it'll be interesting to see how that will keep you updated.
There's all sorts of interesting shit happening in our lives at the moment. It's awesome. Well, it seems like there's always interesting shit happening in our lives. You look back over the 67 episodes of this podcast.
We've done some things.
Some pretty interesting shit.
We've done some things.
Now, we are nearing the end, but... quick poetry update. I know we have been talking on and off about poetry, but it's because there's a lot happening in poetry at the moment. Okay,
in your poetry.
There's a lot happening in
life.
I'm blowing up. Okay, so I entered my second ever slam poetry competition.
Yep.
Now the first one was a year and a half ago. It was miles away out in South Auckland in Otara. I rode out there on a tiny little motorbike in a storm. I got there soaking wet by myself, went in, performed, and I came last. Mm-hmm. Not only did I come last, but both of my poems came last in both of their heats. So I was a resounding last. Yep. Overall, I completely last.
What were those poems?
The poems I did last time?
Yeah.
One was one that I've only ever done once.
Because you've been put off.
Because I've been put off
that experience.
Which is kind of about, it kind of draws parallels between humanity advancing and a child growing.
Right.
So it's kind of, about a civilization advancing, comparing it to a person going through their life and growing.
I think I kind of like that one.
You didn't. I did perform it on the podcast many moons ago, and you said you didn't like it.
Didn't like it. Didn't like that one. That was shit. What's your next one? What was the other one you did?
And then the other one, I think I did was the one Romans, the one about the Roman Empire.
Okay, that's the one I was thinking of.
No, I do like that one.
I do like that one.
And
too.
I'm actually performing that one in this. So I've been, I'm been invited to perform at this, the speaking event at the end of next month, my first big gig, and that's one of the poems I'm going to be performing because that's one of the ones they want. It's about the Roman Empire falling. But anyway, so I came last. So I entered again the other night, a year and a half later, a second slam poetry competition.
It took you a year and a half to build up the courage.
It did.
The despair and misery you felt had just gotten to the point where it was no longer overwhelming you a year and a half later.
Yeah, basically. Because there was a second slam poetry competition last year as well that I planned on entering at the time. And then after coming last in that first one, I was like, fuck it.
Fuck you guys.
Fuck poetry.
Fuck you guys. I'm leaving.
And so anyway, I entered and I have made it through to the regionals. Now, it was a full house. It was like they had to bring in more chairs. It was completely packed.
Just think about that for a second, guys. They had to bring in more chairs to a poetry event.
Poetry's going off, man. There's a big scene in Auckland.
Poetry event.
Yeah. And there was there was more than 100 people there, I'd say. Yeah. It was like the whole place was packed out. And I there was 10 competitors, and 4 of them were making it through to the regionals, and I am through to the regionals. So
You're a finalist.
I am made to the Auckland regionals, and then after the Auckland regionals, there's like, I think the Auckland finals, and then if you win that, you go on to represent Auckland in like the national one, something like that.
All right.
So I'm still a wee way
few steps away. Yeah,
but I've made it through the first one anyway.
Yeah.
And so anyway, that was cool. There was, much to your shock, there was quite a lot of smoking hot babes there.
Yep.
And yeah, it was all in all quite a big success. Now, I also have been approached by a t-shirt making company.
This is an even crazier story that you've just heard.
A t-shirt making company wants to design a t-shirt based on my poem Gravity, which you can see on YouTube. If you search Pigville Gravity, you'll find it. And he wants to design a t-shirt based on my poem and sell it on his website, which I've bought a t-shirt from his website and it's good. I really should have known the name of that website. I'll tell you next week. And so anyway, I'm going to get 30% commission off every t-shirt he sells, plus 7.5% if they use my link to buy it, my special affiliate link to buy it. So I might be getting 37.5% of all the sales of that t-shirt just for sitting on my ass, because he's doing all the designing and he's doing everything, really.
I'm going to have a look at that t-shirt. I might consider buying it.
I would hope you would. But we have to see if it looks cool or not.
Yeah.
But I do have a say in the design, so we should be able to come up with something cool. But anyway, if you guys want, I'm going to share on the Guy and Harley podcast page a link. Now, this is my special affiliate link that leads to their website where you can buy t-shirts. So if you're in the market for a t-shirt, use my link and I'll get a 7.5% commission, and that money just goes into my PayPal account, and PayPal is the account I use to pay for all things Pigville related.
Well, the thing about that is, I mean, this is a true sign that we've made it, or your poetry has made it.
My poetry has made it.
Because basically that's what all the big podcasts have, is they have a podcast sponsor link, normally to Amazon or somewhere. So if you click through on their link, they get a little off the top. They're sponsored by Amazon to do the podcast, or then podcast. Yeah, Amazon pays some of their podcasting fees. And essentially, this is what's happened to you.
Yeah, shit's blowing up. You need to come along to another one of my gigs, Guy. You've only ever come along to one, right?
Yeah.
And it was literally my very, very first one.
No, I've come to 2.
Have you? What was this? All right. Well, so I am getting much better, I think. I've loosened up on stage. I'm much more chilled and stuff. The other night I performed, and it was like the scene from I Survived a Zombie Holocaust where Wesley, my character, is having a dream that everybody loves him.
Yeah.
I performed, and then
you were just walking through the crowd,
yeah, and
high-fiving.
That's what happened. I came off stage, and an old man shook my hand and was like, "Well done, my boy." And everyone was loving it.
It's interesting. So, do you know, the other poets that were the other 3 finalists?
No, I'd never met them before.
But do you know, can you remember their poems?
Yeah. 2 of them were kind of akin to sort of what I'm doing, which is that they weren't like airy-fairy and emotional and, overly descriptive kind of poems. They were kind of like almost like rappy sort of, telling a story of some description.
Yeah.
And yeah, they were pretty good.
I don't really see how you can get much better at poetry, to be honest.
Me?
Yeah, but anyone, at a certain point. Okay, so you can speak the poems well.
Yep.
All right.
Perform
check.
well.
Okay, check. Done that. You can do clever sort of wordplay and bring together clever parallels between this and that. Mm-hmm. Okay, check. All right. That has some sort of social commentary. Okay, check. All right. What? All right. So just keep doing that forever?
Well, yeah.
Don't get me wrong. That's fine. But I guess I just don't understand. So you come, say you get to the next round. You get to the next 2 rounds, and then you lose. I don't see how you can really improve your methodology and your approach. I don't think your insights can get deeper, because I think they're as deep as they're good. They're not deep now. So I just don't really understand how you can kind of keep going up.
Well, you're looking at it all wrong. You got to look at it like your favorite musician, and just understand that they've got to keep writing and keep putting out, poems, and that eventually you're going to get one, hopefully, that is a hit as well, where it's a favorite, and you make well, yeah, and you get millions of views online if you record a video of it, and you just got to keep on putting out content and keep on writing, and obviously you get better. The more you write, the better you get at writing. You know that, the more you perform, the better you get at performing, and then eventually, hopefully, the universe kind of all aligns, and you get a good performance with a good poem that it sort of hits the right chord with people, and boom, next thing you know, you've got millions of views and you're selling books like Jefferson fucking Bethke. I guess it's the parameters of the poem. Like, so how can I get better as a writer? Well, actually, I don't write very deep shit. So I can write more complex. Older was quite deep. Yeah, I guess so. But I can write more nuanced and complex characters. My plots can get more complex and sort of, and I can, my films can have a deeper meaning, right? That's all true, because at the moment, they're not that deep, right? So I can go many layers further down, but you're already starting at that layer, that sort of deeper layer. And I guess just the parameters of a poem, like also, for instance, my films can, the production value can go up, I can, so there's so many more elements that I can bring in to up the quality of them, which you don't have the advantage of doing. That's not true though, because I can write a poem that's a complete, it's the difference between a pop song and a really deep song, there's all sorts of variations in there. On top of that, if you say I'm already deep, right, I can make a complete comedy poem that can be a funny hit, like a funny, I guess so, funny, hilarious I didn't really think about poem. That, yeah. Like my latest poems, the 2 poems I performed at the Slam Poetry one are both, comedic, and they're both kind of dark comedy, and so they were well received there. And you can, but so the point is that there's all sorts of places you can go. And then as far as production value, I could make a really high quality production value poetry video to put online, just like a music video. Well, you already did that. Yeah, and I'll do another one. I'll do the next one, and the next one after that. You just got to keep putting them out. It's exactly the same as your favorite rap artist. It's the same thing. You just keep putting out songs, and hopefully you get better and better, and put out better and better songs, and hopefully people start enjoying your style and following all of your stuff. Well, stay tuned for that on the podcast, guys. Stay tuned for that. Yeah, we better draw it to an end. Yep. So this has been another episode 67. It is 67. So make sure, look, if you want to support us, please go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/Guy and Harley, and hit like and start following us there. If you're on iTunes, then make sure you give us a 5-star rating or a 10-star, whatever the best one is, and subscribe to us and all that stuff. Also, please go to our YouTube channel, because we make some money from our YouTube channel. It's one of the few places we actually earn. So if you decided to start listening to our podcast on YouTube, if it makes no difference to you, Control T, new tab, open the podcast there, because I do upload it there as well, and we get paid. So that's true. Go to YouTube and search Pigville, and you will find us. We should also mention, let's not forget, if you've got an opinion about whether or not Harley should be a sperm donor, that's very important. Please get back to us. It is important. Please let us know on the Facebook page or the YouTube channel, whatever. Just get in touch and let us know. And we'll see you next week. You've been listening to the Guy and Harley podcast, proudly brought to you by Pigville Productions.
Laugh it up, fuzzball.